right, construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here for another amazing episode of Construction Champions Podcast, where we're burning the house down twice a week, every Monday and Thursday. And if this is the first time you're listening, we're not burning it down to just burn it down because we had a pissed off customer or something didn't go exactly how we thought it should go. We're burning it down so we can build it back up. Whether it's your personal life, your business, your family life, whatever that looks like, we're here to help make you into the champion that you're meant to be, because that's how we change the mindset around the construction industry. And as I always say, you're not tuning in for Ron Nussbaum. You're tuning in for the amazing guests that we bring on here. And today is no different. Brent, it is great to have you here today.
Ron, it's a pleasure to be here. You seem like one of the movers and shakers, and I'm just honored to be part of it.
Awesome. I don't know how much of a mover and shaker I am. I just get shit done. Let's just put it that way. I take action and I get it done, and that's just what has to happen. So for all the construction champions out there, why don't you tell them a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself.
Okay, so my name is Brent Darnell, and I've been teaching emotional intelligence and all those critical people skills since 2000 in the industry. Before it was cool, that back in 2000, this was really weird stuff. And then we've sort of morphed into a real heavy emphasis on performance, peak levels of mental, physical, and emotional performance, which ties into everything that we do, including mental health and well-being and safety, and with the emotional intelligence and human connection stuff, with teamwork and communication and relationships and all those things that drive success for projects. But it's almost like we've gotten into where we really focus on training people in the industry all the way down to craft level, like professional athletes, and talk a lot about stress and nutrition and sleep and exercise and human connection and how all that relates to performance and longevity. So that's where I've gone in the last 24 years with this.
Oh, I think we're going to have an amazing conversation today. So I'm going to dive right in there, and I'm going to ask the $1 million question. And that is, what makes a construction champion? Hey, construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum here. And I want to talk to you about how you can automate all of your marketing. We've had so many people on here talk about getting the systems in place. Well, we have partnered with Build 12 and Construction Champions podcast. Les O'Hara, the founder, what really excites me is his 30 years in the industry. And now he's built a system to be able to nurture your leads and continue to utilize that. I personally use the system myself. Build 12 is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of value in there, and it's a way to start getting away from Angie's List and all of that kind of stuff and start actually creating your own leads every day and have a system for them. So go on our website, check out the show notes, go check out Build 12 and what it can do for the front end of your business today. It's absolutely amazing. I highly recommend going and meeting with Les and his son, Devin, and talking to him about what they built for their own business so the rest of the industry can take benefit from that. Here on Construction Champions, we're all about helping each other out. And what is better than contractors helping contractors? I say nothing. So let's go take this to the next level. Go check out Build 12. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Les or his son, Devin. We're here to help. We want to continue to grow the industry.
Since I was going to be on here, I thought about this, and I think it's anyone who challenges the status quo in the industry. And we've got lots of those folks out there, and they are really trying to move the needle. And there's all kind of fronts to that. There's technology, and there's mental health, and there's different project delivery methods, and all these things that are at the forefront of how we do things differently. And it's such a stodgy kind of staid industry where we're a little bit reluctant to embrace some of those new things. And so I think those champions are the ones that are pushing that envelope, pushing for change, not just change for change, but change to make us better so that we can attract more people and solve that problem, that we can make sure our people are well and thriving in this industry, you know? And those are the people that I admire the most and really connect with on LinkedIn and at conferences. We have these really deep discussions about, you know, sometimes it feels like you're beating your head against the wall, but then when you see those breakthroughs and when you see those things change, it is so rewarding to see that work.
Absolutely. So let's dive into that. Is being like you mentioned, there's a lot of different facets of status quos that are being challenged throughout the construction industry with good reason why, because we're a very industry that is like, this is just how we've always done it. Like, that's kind of the heartbeat, and change is not something that comes easy in the construction industry, but it's something that has to come. One of the reasons I do this podcast is so we can have conversations like this, because they have to be had.
Yes. Well, I think change is inevitable, but growth is optional. You know,
Love that.
it's going to change. Are you affecting that change and directing that change? Or are you just kind of waiting for things to kind of shift and change and you'll kind of go along with it and ride that ride? But I think we really have to have this focus on creating the change that we want in the industry, and not just because I mean, look at something as simple as workforce development. You know, we're kind of dragging ourselves kicking and screaming in that realm and trying to figure out how to get younger people and people interested in the industry. But if we create that change and create that change in our companies and our culture, which changes the industry culture, those people are going to want to come into this industry. But you know, you've got to always have those people that are so resistant. I mean, you know, just to be fair, most people are resistant to change. Change is hard. Like, change is really difficult. So I get the resistance, but again, it's about pushing and putting it introducing it and carrying out in a way that makes people say, wow, yes, that's where we need to go with this.
I think one of the most important things that you said there, in my, like, what hit me was like that the growth aspect. Like, change is going to happen. And I think the people that are most of the time so unhappy with the change is because they just sat there and they let it happen and didn't do anything about it when they could have been part of it.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, people always ask me with like something like emotional intelligence, which is, you know, increasing people's ability to connect with other humans and have great relationships and trust and all that. But they say, how many, what's the percentage of people that actually do create change? And I always say, you know, for people that want to create change, it's 100%. And people that don't want to create change, it's 0%. So it's a pretty simple formula in that regard, right?
So, I mean, as I think about this in my head is like, so we have an industry that's changing a lot, but we have a lot of people that are just sitting on the sidelines watching that change happen, that are unhappy with it. How do we
Right.
bring them off the sidelines and get their input and let them be part of the change?
Right. You know, I've been wrestling with this since I started my business 24 years ago. You know, how do I get people to recognize that something like emotional intelligence and relationships and all those critical people skills are so vital to your success? And the way we've morphed it into that creates a lot of good interest and at least opens the door is we couch it in the context of performance. So you know, that's the way I think how I've approached it that's been successful for me is, what if I could tell you I could increase your level of performance and longevity for your life and your work? I mean, nobody's going to say, no, no, thanks. I really don't want to perform at all well or better than I'm doing right now. So they really like that aspect of performance. But see, we can relate that to, I mean, if you look at the graphs of productivity over the last 50 years and all these manufacturing and tech, and, you know, it's like a hockey stick and ours is just flat. Well, and again, it would be different if we were doing great, but we're not doing great. We're doing okay. We make some money. Okay, we're in these really low levels of margin, like 1% and 2% margins on projects. That's really insane. That higher risk for that low margin, but if we can look at those elements that say our productivity pretty much stinks, our embrace of technology is not great. We're struggling with mental health issues and mental health and well-being and that aspect of safety. So guys, what we're doing is not working. And there's better ways to do this. And so let's up our level of performance. Let's up our game as an industry and as companies. Let's up our game in every one of those realms and increase our level of performance and make it more of an attractive place to be and to work. And also, guess what? Make more money and have bigger margins. And so to me, it's about that performance level and bottom line results. And that's what gets the guys that make the decisions and invest the money into these things. That's what gets them at least the door open and them thinking about it, I think.
Yeah, I'm a big component of the performance aspect. I spent too many years in the construction industry living off of energy drinks and gas station food. But that's the narrative. But it's an easy narrative to change if we really want to. Like, if you want to invest in this as a company and start to understand, the healthier your guys are, it's already a hard job. There's going to be injuries, but there's ways that we can proactively challenge this stuff and change it in the mental health. Like, it's construction. Like, it's not necessarily the easiest work out there, but like, we don't do ourselves the narrative in the status quo in the construction industry when it comes to how we treat our body. 90% of the people out there, it's a train wreck. I was part of it.
It is.
I didn't start taking care of my body until I was no longer doing that. And I look back and I'm like, how much better could I have been if if that wasn't what I did?
Absolutely. And I see it all the time. I'm seeing a lot of stress and burnout. I'm seeing people just abusing their bodies, like you mentioned. And I'm working with a group of superintendents. I work with a lot of superintendents and field folks. And this one group of superintendents, it's a paint contractor. They're a great company. And these 23, 24 superintendents, when I first started 5 years ago with them, I've been with them for 5 years now, probably 90% of them smoked. And probably, I'd say at least 3/4 were pretty much overweight, and some a lot overweight. They were abusing their bodies. They were onto the Monster Energy and Red Bulls. So they smoked. They ate crap food. They were a lot of time on the road, so they're eating crappy, just mostly fast food. They're not exercising on a regular basis. They're also not connecting with their family and friends because they're on the road. So now after 5 years of that, and believe me, there was a lot of skepticism and a lot of like, what is this guy doing here? What is he talking about? Nutrition and sleep and all that. But I tell you what, it's amazing to see the transformation. Probably now we're down to about 25% of them smoking, and probably about half of those are trying to quit smoking. They've lost a ton of weight as a group. They're losing weight. They're eating better. They're focused on their nutrition when they're on the road. They're making better choices. They're really trying to get their sleep. I've been doing yoga and meditation and mindfulness stuff for like 45 years. I started in college. So I've taught them some breathing techniques and some meditation techniques and some mindfulness techniques, and they actually use them because they work, right? So they're getting healthier, they're managing their stress better. And then this one guy, he calls me, and I was there visiting the office where he is, and he said, "Hey man, you got to check out my Oculus." He goes, I downloaded this app, and all I got to do is put my goggles on it. It takes me through this visual meditation journey. And this woman's telling me to breathe and relax. And he said, man, every night when I get home, that's the first thing I do. Put my Oculus on, go through that meditation. And in 15 minutes, I'm like a noodle. I'm not stressed. I don't think about work. Everything is really good. And my family loves it because I'm not irritable and I'm not crazy with them. And so it's things like that. And again, it what they were doing before, they never knew the difference. But now when they see that they can manage their stress better, that they can feel better by quitting smoking, that they can feel better by eating better, they can feel better by sleeping a good night's sleep, they're feeling better. They're working at a higher level of performance, and they know they're not going to probably develop some horrible autoimmune disease or heart attack or disease, and die young. I mean, there's another guy in that same group. He's got a walking buddy. He's got a neighbor, and they walk every evening for like 20, 30 minutes. It's just nice, and he does it consistently, and he's losing weight, and he's feeling better. So again, what's in it for me thing? Well, nobody ever says no. No thanks. I would rather feel like crap and be exhausted all the time and have a heart attack by age 50. That's my goal. That's what I'm shooting for. Nobody ever says that.
Well,
So
that's
this
what
is a
we're
pretty
doing,
easy
though.
in.
But
Exactly.
like that's what we might not be saying, that we don't want that, but like that's what we're doing to
Yeah.
ourselves every day.
Yeah. Well, and again, once they experience the difference, I think that's the big key. Wow, I didn't, it's like the guy that came in kind of really hungover bad, and he said something. I think the line was, I said, "Man, why do you do that to yourself?" He said, "Think about it. When you wake up in the morning, that's the best you're going to feel all day." So I don't think they understand the difference, but when they feel the difference of better lifestyle choices and getting the rest they need and eating better and managing their stress, I think they just feel better. They can feel that difference just physically, and the reason they don't do it just naturally is they don't know the difference. They've never done it, so they don't know what that difference is. But we kind of not really force them, but highly encourage. And then it becomes this peer pressure thing. One guy quit smoking and they go, wow, Ron quit smoking. Maybe I should check that out, see if I can do that.
I know when I quit smoking and I quit dipping and did all that stuff, it blew people's minds. But you don't know how good you can really feel.
Exactly.
In the construction industry, it's very physical. It's very mentally exhausting. There's a lot of
Yeah.
moving pieces to it, whether you're a laborer or you're running the company. There's a lot, and it's really demanding. And I
Yeah.
think people should look at this as you're an athlete. Like you're not just going to a job and doing whatever. Like there's all kinds of
Yeah.
different things you could do. Like if you're out in the field working every day, you are exhausting yourself just as much as a professional athlete does. And we have
Exactly.
to treat ourselves that way. Like we can't just let everything, we just can't act normal like the rest of the world does and go do this work and not expect to be feeling like shit all the time.
I so agree. And this just puzzled me even 20 years ago. Like, okay, we put people in a highly stressful situation, physically demanding work, a lot of money at stake, a lot of pressure, and they eat crap food, and they don't get enough sleep, and they use maybe some mood altering stuff in the evenings, like maybe a couple of drinks or whatever, and they get by with like over the counter medications to help with pain and to help with stomach issues and to help with headaches and maybe even more than over the counter. Maybe it's prescription stuff. And then they have all that going on, and then we expect them to perform at a high level, right? I mean, that's just crazy. That's insane.
I come from the Marine Corps before I was in construction, and all of that same stuff applies. But the one thing is they bust your ass every day to keep you in
Yeah.
shape. So like you have
Yeah.
all these other elements, but you're regimented into being in shape, which we
Yeah.
don't have. So you have all
Right.
the stuff you're talking about, and then there's no plan to be any healthier, or how are we healthier? It's just the
Yeah,
same stuff.
I agree. And here's the real kicker to it though. They do perform at a high level and they get the job built and they have, they get all the work in place and they finish the project. But I think they do that at a high cost. I think it comes at a very high cost. And that's where we're seeing the mental health issues, the physical debilitation in their, 40s and 50s, where they're just debilitated. They look 10 years older than they are. And we've got to do something about this. We got to treat them better as just human beings, but we also have to teach them and train them. And we've created a whole thing called primal safety, where we talk about lifestyle choices and human connection as a way to work safer. And some of the toolbox topics that we have are things like talk about how you eat and the rest you get affect how you perform during the day, so that they start developing that awareness of, man, if I don't get a good night's sleep and I'm not eating good food and I'm taking a lot of drugs, recreational drugs, over-the-counter drugs, or drinking too much, I'm not doing myself any favors, and my performance goes way down, and I may be even putting myself in danger by having those choices, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of that happens. I mean, when we talk mental health and substance abuse, those are kind of, I don't know if like brushed under the rug. They're being more talked about now within the construction industry, but it's stuff that
Yeah,
kind of in the past has just been looked at as, oh, that just comes with the territory. Well, that's bullshit.
right.
Like it doesn't have to come with the territory. Like there's stuff we
No,
can do as companies, there's stuff we can do as individuals to eliminate that. And that's what like
right.
that's what you're helping companies do, correct? Like that's
Yeah, and not only does it, it doesn't have to just come with the territory, but I think in the past, when people had substance abuse issues, substance use disorders, opioids or alcohol or any kind of drug use, we shamed them. We say we hate you. We're going to fire you. You tested positive for a drug, so you're banished. You're a piece of crap. We don't want you in this industry. But that's changing, and I've spoken several times at Impact, which is the ironworkers, union, and those guys. And here's what they do at their conferences: they have NA and AA meetings throughout the day. So if you go to an Impact, like a ironworkers conference, you can hit a meeting while you're there.
hmm.
They also, if you test positive for drugs or alcohol, they will pay for your rehabilitation and support you in your recovery. And they say their message is, we love you. We hate that you're struggling. And if you want to get away from that, we'll help you. And if you don't and you want to leave, that's cool. That's your choice. But if you want to stay, we want you to stay. And we're going to help you in your recovery and get you to where you want to be.
Hmm.
And so that you're a productive member of this industry and of companies that hire you out, and all of those things that go with that.
Yeah, I just as you were going through that, like the stories that I could tell from over the years of just getting rid of guys. Like
Yeah,
these were the rules, you broke the rules instead of, having I don't like I think there's a proactive conversation to be had here. Cause we're
yes,
all, hindsight's 2020, but we're all not just naive. And in your company what's happening, who's probably doing what, and we can proactively have these conversations with everybody and proactively help instead of waiting till it comes to that moment where it's
right,
like a policy violation. And if that's your policy, you're put in a position where you have to let them go, because if you don't, you're not up, like it becomes this whole whatever. So either you have to kind of change your policy,
right.
or you need to be more proactive with this and not wait till the last possible stance to
Yeah,
actually be like, now we can help you.
yeah. Agreed. And I think that, and it should be a comprehensive thing. It shouldn't just be focused on drug use or misuse or addiction issues. It should be focused on healthy lifestyle. And the message should be, we care about you so much. We want you to have a nice career in this, make some great money, put some money away for retirement, and retire healthy and enjoy your retirement. You know, these guys that retire after 30 years in this industry, they don't enjoy retirement. They're debilitated. They're not everybody, but it's a pretty common occurrence, as you know. You know, if you work with any with field folks, and we need to change that perception to say, wow, if you go in construction, they're going to take care of you. They care about you. They want you the best for you. They want you to be healthy and happy and have a long, healthy life that you can enjoy with all your loved ones. You know, that should be the message we're sending instead of commoditizing hourly people and saying, you know, to where we're going to pay you as little as possible and not give you any vacation or health care or anything. And so that you're not loyal. You don't, because we're not loyal to you. You're not loyal to us. So if you get $2 more an hour across the street, you're leaving. And it's become this crazy thing. I don't know why more companies don't get this, that if you really truly take care of your people and care about them and want the best for them and give them resources, they're going to take care of you and they're going to be more loyal, you know?
Well, they're going to feel more. There's more value in that stuff than just the hourly rate or the salary.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, if apples to apples going across the street might make more sense, but if you position yourself to where we're not apples to apples here, like we have other, like we're apples and oranges and blueberry, like we have other stuff because we care about you and what your career looks like in your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I get pretty far out there in that regard. Like I'm saying, okay, why don't we pay them a living wage? Why don't we give them at least 2 weeks vacation to begin with? Why don't we give them like PTO where they can take off whenever they need to help for themselves or their family? Why don't we give them after like 2 or 3 years of working really good and steady and you've become a good performer, why don't we offer them a 30-day sabbatical that they can just take off, right? Why don't we offer to pay for all their health care and any kind of care that they need, mental health care, physical health care, and at least pay a portion of that? Why don't we treat them like they're gold? You know, I do a lot of work in the lean world, and we talk about, okay, those guys with tools in their hands, they're the only people on that project that create value.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else supports those value creators, but we treat them like commodities instead of like gold, like they are the ones that are getting us paid. And I don't know why we don't have that, haven't had that shift and that mental shift yet in that regard.
I 100% agree with what you're saying. Like I was that guy for a long time. Like
Yeah.
at my heart, that's my favorite, best memories I have of being in construction is being out in the field, being the one that creates the results. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know why we don't, because I look at like, so I was in the infantry in the Marine Corps. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing, is like we're the whatever, but we're the ones that get shit done. Everybody else is in support. It's the same thing when you look at the guys that are out in the field. They're the ones getting it done, and everybody
Yeah.
else is supporting that cause.
Yeah. But in terms of treatment and in terms of just how we approach our relationship with those guys with tools in their hands, it doesn't match the importance of what they're doing, does it?
No,
In
not
some
at all.
cases it does, but in most cases it doesn't.
Well, they're the ones working the longest hours in the worst conditions, and
Yeah.
I agree with you. There's a lot of stuff that we can do, and you made a lot of great recommendations on stuff that companies can do. So
Yeah.
awesome, man. I think this has been an amazing conversation. I have really enjoyed it. I always love when we talk about it's not out of the box. It's stuff that has to be talked about, but it's not nearly talked about enough when we talk about construction. And this is one of those
Agreed.
subjects, health and fitness and mental health, all
Yeah.
of that. It's just something that just is not talked about, that needs to be
Yeah.
talked about.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed it. This has been great. And it's good to always bouncing stuff off people and have this discussion. And it gets my brain working and going. And, some other things that I can probably bring into the mix too to help with that.
Awesome, man. So for all the champions out there listening, if they wanted to connect with you, follow you, learn more about what you do, where's the best places for them to do that?
Well, I think Brent Darnell with two L's, BrentDarnell.com is probably the best place to start. I'm also on LinkedIn. If you're a LinkedIn person, I'd love to connect. And I've got lots of cool things coming down the pike if you'll stay in touch with me. I've got some apps out now that teach this stuff. One's a micro learning app that every lesson, there's no lesson over 30 seconds long, which is really cool. So if you're waiting somewhere, you can just do some work on, and one of those is stress management. So it's a micro learning app. I've got an app called Emotional Intelligence for AEC that talks about emotional intelligence and the importance. And so I've got the apps. I've got a bunch of books. You can go on my website and look at the books. And I've got a series of, I've consolidated all my books into something called the Tough Guy Survival Kit. So it's things like time management, stress management, relationship skills, communication skills, presentation skills, all of those vital areas that sometimes we tough guys struggle with, that are in the industry.
Awesome, man. I love it. And thank you for taking the time to be on the show today.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate you having me.
All right, construction champions, another amazing episode in the books. And once again, we're just out here challenging the status quo. We're out here talking about the change that has to happen in the industry. That change starts at the top. Everything we talked about on this show today, for your guys, your girls, anybody that works for you, it starts with you. If you're not focusing on being the absolute best that you can be physically, mentally, if you're out leading the circle at the smoke pit at Lowe's in the morning on the way to the job site, you can't cultivate this. So the look in the mirror moment for everybody is like, am I that example that I can start to have these conversations at my company where we can start to actually change the narrative around not just the construction industry, but people's personal lives, their family lives, their health, their longevity. You have to be the example here. We have to be the examples. Because if we're not at our absolute top, no one else would be. They're just going to be like, great. This is just another program John's rolling out that he's not going to be participating in, but I'm going to be expected to quit smoking and lay off the drinking and stuff while John's going to be out having a fantastic time. Bullshit, not how it works. Here on Construction Champions, we have I'll call it how it is because I've given up all of this stuff to become that example, to be part of that change. You can too in your company, and you can create ripples that are not just at your company, that move into people's families and move into other companies. And this is how you start to get people wanting to come work for you because they're going to see your guys out there and they're going to be like, there's something different about them there. They're doing something different than what we're doing over here. And I want to know what that's about. So think about that. Go ask yourself in the mirror, look in the mirror and be like, am I the guy? Am I setting the example for my company? And make sure you go check out all of our fantastic sponsors. And until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.
Introducing BuilderComms, your comprehensive construction communication software. Simplify project management with unified communications, real-time picture and document sharing, and instant project notifications. Keep everyone in the loop and ensure client satisfaction. Experience the transformation in construction project management with BuilderComms. Start streamlining your projects and keeping clients ecstatic today. Say goodbye to misunderstandings and endless email digging. Say hello to more winning time. Choose BuilderComms, your gateway to construction project success.